Hi everyone, I'm Sweet Melba. Thanks for joining me for Sunday on the Porch. Well, I'm continuing my retirement countdown. We're down to 63 days until my retirement on June 30th. So, every week is something new. And so I wanted to share a little bit about what I've been thinking about this week. So I've been thinking about how I want my retirement to start after June 30th. And I think for most of us, you think about, oh, I'm going to have a big party, I'm going to have a celebration. Um, it just kind of everybody getting together and kind of celebrating that. And I think that's kind of the standard, right? Maybe you go on a trip or something like that. And, the milestone, mark the occasion kind of a thing. And I think that's kind of a general kind of thought about what the start of your retirement looks like. And that just didn't seem to fit for me. So don't get me wrong. I think a celebration for your retirement is important. It is a significant milestone. And a lot of people, if they're working at a company or whatnot, the colleagues throw a retirement party or your family throws a retirement party. And that's all great. It's a way to get together and just have a good time and share some memories and whatnot. And again, mark the milestone. The more I thought about it, and people said, well, what are you going to do to celebrate and whatnot? And the more I thought about it, the more I thought, for me, it needs to be more than just a celebration. That you have the party and then you go home and it starts, right? It just seemed to me like there needed to be more to that. And that was important to me. And so I'd really been giving it a lot of thought that this is something different. This is not just a party. And what is it that I want to do to mark this milestone in my life and the accomplishments and things like that? But more importantly, how do I want my retirement to start? How do I want that to begin? So, what I decided I thought really fit for where I was is taking a month trip, vacation, however you want to call it, just to provide that time, that quiet space uh, to really start that transition to being retired. And, not an occasion where every minute of the day is planned with something. Certainly we have some activities planned, but it's just relaxing, just time with me and my husband and enjoying each other and just kind of getting the mindset right that you're not working day to day anymore. You're not necessarily answering the call when the client calls, right? But really allowing that opportunity to let your mind adjust. And what it reminded me of was when I finished college. And I had a work schedule as far as my education was concerned, where I read a lot, being a history major, and so when I graduated, I remembered, afterwards you're sitting there going, I should really get up and go read something. So, work wise, you think, well, what project do I have to do? Or, what's my timeline on this? And that's what it made me think of. And I thought, I really want a time that allows me to adjust. And again, thinking back to college, it took me about a month to get my mind to stop thinking about what schoolwork in that case I needed to do. And so that's where I was like, you know what? I'm going to take a month. I'm going to take a good month away from home in a different environment and just settle with this that I'm in a new chapter, right? And allow for that again, settling in and getting comfortable with where I'm at now. So I feel comfortable with this. There will be, it's a celebration too, right? But it's not a party. It's not, a 1 week trip and then you come home and, you're in a new realm, right? I think this is kind of my kind of my way of doing things, is giving me the time to settle in, and to think about where I'm at. I think I've kind of always done that, and being reflective and whatnot. So again, it's not being busy, it's being in a different environment and having the opportunity to have fun, right? To enjoy time, talking with my husband and enjoying activities together during the month that we're going to be gone. And really, again, allowing, kind of coming to terms with, you've closed the door on something and you've opened a new one, and getting comfortable with that. And that's really kind of how I feel about this. But I've also chosen some activities that I really enjoy doing, and there'll be more on that down the road. But and this might even be a good time actually to mention, my husband and I have a travel channel that we do. It's called Out and About with Tom and Sherry. So if you're interested in the travel things that we do, you can always go check that out. But I'll share a little bit on my channel here about the trip and how it went. But we always try and document our travels, and we enjoy doing that and being able to share that with family and friends. So we'll certainly do that on our month trip. But it really was for me, what did I want to do? Where did I want to be? And what did I think I needed? And this is really where I feel this is going to be a good mix of celebration, fun, but yet quiet time to, again, get comfortable with this next chapter and being retired. So I think so many of us, see other people retiring and what they're doing and how they're, celebrating and whatnot. And I think we kind of come to think that there's an expectation for that, right? And, I'd be interested to hear your thoughts. How did you celebrate your retirement, and how was that first month? And what did you do to kind of, settle in, as I say? Again, I think we really kind of get that, we hear about what all, what people kind of expect you to do, and the party and whatnot. And I don't think that we really give ourselves the time to just kind of let it transition, right? To let coming to a new routine or new thoughts, and calming our mind down from whatever we were doing before. And I think we owe that to ourselves. And again, as I've always said in my videos, each of us does this differently, and this is what feels right to me. And so again, I'd love to hear your thoughts on how you did that, or how you think you might do that if you're getting ready to retire. How are you going to acknowledge that end of a career and entering into a new part of your life, and giving yourself the time to adjust to that? So if you'd like to share, I'd love to hear in the comments. So as I've been doing with, my videos I've been doing on my 90-day countdown to my retirement date, is really trying to acknowledge and appreciate this transition. And so I think this month after my retirement date is just a continuation of that, of just really enjoying the moment, and reflecting on the different feelings you have going through this change from a career to retirement. And I'm looking forward to it. There's been some uncomfortable days. You second guess yourself, and you think, well, how do I handle this? And I'm sure I'll continue to have those, but I'm looking forward to it. And I'm glad that I've kind of notched out this time both with my videos and what's coming forward in my month after I retire, to again really just pay attention to what's going on and how I'm feeling about it, and trying to make the right decisions for the right reasons, and not feeling rushed and that you just have the party and it's done. Right. um, I'm looking forward to having the quiet time and having some fun too, and just again really changing that mindset from working to having lots more free time and being retired. And I don't, like I say, I don't know exactly how all it's going to go, but I'm looking forward to it, nevertheless. And I think it'll all be a good experience, all around. Maybe a couple challenges in there, but that's part of the process too. So again, I'm eager to see how it goes, and getting excited for that as well. Like I say, 2 months left, 63 days I think it is, and it comes up every week, seems to go by quicker, I think, in my case. So anyway, thanks for joining me here for Sunday on the Porch, and again, I hope you'll share your comments, and if you've enjoyed the video, that you'll give it a thumbs up, and subscribe if you're new to the channel. And I will be back next Sunday for Sunday on the Porch, and we'll continue the reflection on the transition to retirement. So thanks again. I'm Sweet Melba. I'll see you next time. Bye bye.